Alright guys, GlueBee here. I might be a fat whale, but today I will make a video about some free-to-play friendly teams and some compositions you can pretty much beat the story with. I understand that not everyone sold their soul to the devil to be able to get E2 Sila, but yeah, without further ado, let's just dive right into it.
Let's change the world!
As everyone know, when we start the game, we are given our main character, the Trailblazer physical, we are given March 7th, and we are given Donhe. The Trailblazer is an amazing physical AoE unit, and it's very good for breaking. Physical break is probably the best break in the game, and honestly, Trailblazer is just really good. March 7th is a really good Perseverance character that kind of has a really good utility shield, especially early game. The shield is actually just massive. It's about from 50 to 70% of their max HP, and enemies only deal like 30 damage anyways, so she can pretty much block off all damage, right? The fact that she also has an ultimate that kind of just freezes enemies, which is a stun. Not to be confused with normal breaks. Breaks aren't stuns. When the enemy gets their turn, they just kind of breaks out of the break, while when they're frozen, they lose their turn. So freeze is really good defensively. Donheng is actually one of the best hunt characters. He's an insane single target DPS unit, which actually just shreds. He's really good. I'm not building him right now on this account because I have Sila to deal with single target, but for later uses I definitely will build Donheng. He is actually really good. After you've done the tutorial, you will get a 4th and 5th character. You will get Asta and you will get Serval. Asta is because, well, the first kind of warp you do will always be Asta, and you get Serval from the pre-registration bonus. So when choosing the 4th character, you should probably go with Asta. You will get Himiko to accompany you during the prologue boss fight, and I recommend using her. While after that you should probably go with Asta or Serval. It just depends on what you want to play, but let's say we go with Asta here. Asta will cover your fire weakness, and she will also have an ultimate that buffs speed for all your character. Speed is just the best stat, so Asta being able to team-wide buff speed is really good. You can also put in Serval if you need lightning cover, but the thing about the early game is that the early game during the prologue and actually during most of the first story on Jariel 6th is actually centered around weaknesses, physical, ice, wind and fire. So this is probably the best team you can run until you get new characters. Serval really was just gifted to us because of the pre-reg, and it's like she might be good against the bots in the underworld because they have lightning weakness, but you have more ways to deal with them. So yeah, when you progress further into the story, you will get Natasha. Natasha is undoubtedly a must switch in because she's a healer. She's actually the only healer that we can be sure to obtain because Bailu is a 5-star. When you get Natasha, you should switch out March to make your team look like this or like this. The way this works is that when you meet a lot of enemies, Trailblazer physical will probably eat the skill points. Donheng will mostly auto attack and ultimate. Serval or Asta. Asta will only attack with normal attacks, and then she will only use her skill when there are fire break enemies, while Serval will actually do the same. It is also possible to swap out Trailblazer physical for Serval if you rather do that. I won't say that's bad because it's actually pretty good, but you have to level up your Trailblazer as well, because during the boss fights you will need to use the Trailblazer, and it's kind of cringe if your Trailblazer is level 1. So I would recommend keeping that in mind when building this team. Yeah, I forgot to mention you will also get Herta, but Herta is bad. In my opinion, she's the only like bad character in the game, because the thing with Herta is that she's supposed to be in DPS, but she don't deal any damage, and she's worse on breaking than March. She's breaking bad. Okay, I'll shut up. But thing is, Natasha is really busted. You gotta use her here. And then the only character that kind of replaces anyone on this team is when you get Trailblazer Fire. Trailblazer Fire is undoubtedly the best free-to-play unit. Trailblazer Fire is actually one of the best units in the game. Your team will probably look like something like this, or it might look something like this, or it might look something like this. The thing about making the team look like this is that in this game, especially early game, there's a lot more focus on breaking and surviving. So you're not time gated by most of the early game content, which means that you'd rather survive over dealing a lot of damage. If one of your characters died, it kind of dies, so it would be pretty practical to kind of, you know, just outlast the enemy, I guess. In the worst case scenario, if you find content to be really hard, you can go with a team like this. It will be a super defensive team. Focus on just making everyone just auto attack. I would recommend to go with this team. It has three supports and 1 tank. In which case, if you've beaten Cocolia, which is the final part of chapter 1, you shouldn't really have to resort to using this team. I would say that the kind of best end team you can have after chapter 1 as a free-to-play, without taking your guaranteed 5-star into account, is probably Trailblazer Fire. Definitely, I'm using Trailblazer Fire myself on my whale team because she's just that good. I would probably need to have a healer, so Natasha would be on the team. Here you can add either a support or a sub DPS. In this case, I think I will go for Asta here, the speed free to play support, really good. But the last spot here can either be filled by defensive option, it can be filled by coverage, and the coverage would either be Serval or Danheng here. The thing with Danheng and Serval here is that if you meet a lot of enemies that are weak to wind, you will obviously go Danheng, and if you meet a lot of enemies that are weak to lightning, you would go Serval. So this is probably a team that is manageable to kind of go. The thing about this composition is that you can even beat like the harder contents of the game with compositions like this, but you would probably have to do something like this or whatever, because as I said, in most of the content, also in simulated universe, which is kind of important to grind down each week, there isn't a time limit, so you can actually just stay in the battle for like 5 hours if you want to, as long as you can beat the enemy. And by doing that, you would need to run maybe March for the shields. Maybe you can swap Asta here for actual DPS. Danheng will kind of break down the enemy very slowly. If you have March, if you have the Trailblazer Fire. Trailblazer Fire is never going to use her ability except if she needs to, because she's kind of centered around her auto attack, which makes her really great because she generates a lot of skill points. Natasha too will only auto attack unless she has to heal. Your ultimate is gonna be a team-wide heal anyways, but yeah. Danheng will eat the rest of the skill points if you have any to spare, and March will also shield targets that might be vulnerable. She also raises threat with her shield, so remember that the one you shield with March is more likely to be attacked. But yeah, there really isn't that much more to talk about when it comes to building a free-to-play team. The thing with Trailblazer Fire is she's one of the best units in the game and is undoubtedly broken. So it's like, just get a lot of defensive gear, well, mostly defense, but the HP is good too. She scales off defense, and then you're just tanking like crazy. She won't die. Like, she won't die. And in the correct comps, you can kind of see why she's so good. Anyways, yeah, that was my actually really fast breakdown about the free-to-play characters. I would say that you're free to do whatever you want, and of course, if you did any pulls and got some 5 stars, feel free to swap the characters out for the 5 stars, because every 5-star has a job to do. I can just overview them really fast for you. If you're lucky enough to pull Jeopard, he will take over the tanking role. Bronya will take over the support role, so not for the healer but the support role. Himiko will be the AoE kind of gal. Bailu will be the healer, so you swap out Natasha for Bailu if you get Bailu. Clara will be the DPS. Yeah, she seems defensive, but she's actually categorized as the DPS, as she should. Yeah, so you can see that it's kind of obvious who they're replacing. You can see like Welt is also acting as a support. Yangqing is a single target DPS, so you can pretty much see who you're gonna swap out, and that's fine. But that's generally just my my tips on what to do as a free-to-play, and the game is really beatable with those units. Danheng is gonna shred bosses. Trailblazer Fire is gonna tank like crazy. March and Asta is gonna provide the utility and support that you need, and Natasha is gonna heal lots of heals. So I think you should be good. Anyways, that was it for today. I'll smell you guys later, I guess. Bye bye.